All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and sorry for the abrupt attention getter, but I was dared to be able to do a loud whistle, so there you go. The July 2nd, 2025 meeting of the City Council will now come to order at 6 p.m. Winnie, may we have roll call, please?
Jessica Ayers. Here. Nick Card.
Here.
Kevin Keating.
Here.
Mike Kurlinger. John Quinn.
Here.
Zach Smith. Kevin Stein. Here. And Garrett West.
Here.
We have 6 present.
All right, we have a quorum. City manager reports. Anything for you, Mr. Field?
Right there. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and the public who is assembled. Rob Field, City Manager. Brief update on goings-on around the great city of Medford. First up, because Fire Station 15, progress is continuing rapidly. We are working first on what is currently going to be a temporary apparatus bay, which will then convert into the station's logistics facility. We have a website for updates if people care to track the progress. Howard Park, we cut a ribbon on on the new park, interactive playground with a splash pad. Councilor West was there to preside over the proceedings, so quite the event. Councilor Stein was there as well. Pickleball courts, we've added to our pickleball court 2 at a time. A few of us were discussing the need for additional. We're looking forward to the new ones at Howard Memorial Park coming soon. A fully enclosed dog park is part of it as well. Fire danger levels have increased, of course, as we all know, heading into this time of year. We already had the Applegate fire, so we are just taking every opportunity to remind people that the season is here. Road work is in progress. This is also the season for road work, so you'll see quite a bit of streets being repaved or story sealed or other things, so that we continue to maintain a high quality surface transportation system. We want to thank John Weil. John, for many years of public service, 4 years here? Yeah, 4 years here, but a total of about 33 years in public service. John has done amazing things for all of Southern Oregon, so we want to thank him for all that he has done. We even acknowledge his Jackson County service. Just kidding, folks. But he's been a steady hand at the wheel, doing a lot of different things, including apparently serving as an adjunct emergency manager during the Alameda fire. So, John, thank you for all you've done. And sitting next to John is his replacement. Dan Worth comes to us from Scottsdale, Arizona. He has noted that it is cooler here than it is there, even though he's coming here as Councilor Ayers mentioned, the warmer part of the season here, but nothing like Scottsdale. He has worked as a public works director and acting city manager, was in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, has done public works in a lot of different locations around the world. So welcome, Dan. Happy New Year. I know you're probably thinking, what are you talking about? Well, it's new budget year. So we've been celebrating this week, getting through the process of adopting the new biennial budget was quite a successful experience this time around. So I want to thank the council and the mayor for all their participation as we went through that, and the council goal setting and all the other associated processes. And with that, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Great, thank you. Moving on to recognitions, community reports. First up, we have ODOT for a semi-annual update.
Good evening, everyone. Hello, Mary Dillinger with ODOT. Before I show the presentation, I would like to do an introduction. We have Eli, who is our interim area manager, because Jerry Moran, he retired. Eli is here, and say hello to everybody. Okay, Winnie. Yes. Oh, we got it. Never mind. I'm good. Yay. Thank you. Okay, so Jackson County ADA projects, we do have a lot, as you just heard from the city manager about all the different work on the streets. We do the same thing with ODOT. We have lots of ADA ramps throughout Jackson County that you'll be seeing getting constructed. Foothill Road, so if you've driven on it, you've seen that they finished the one side of it that's heading down toward North Phoenix. The other part is the part that they're going to start working on now, so it's coming along very nicely. As you already know, the county portion has already been complete. Once this part of the closure is done, there is some more work to be done, but it's getting done very nicely, and it's on time and on schedule. The Big X. So the Big X project, 99% of the work is done at nights. They're doing such a great job of calling it by 7 a.m., getting off the streets so that they're not impeding traffic too much. But I know there's been some phone calls I've received for some people because they had to cut off a turn lane. It's just all part of the project, but everything with the Big X project is coming along nicely. Like the Big X has 88 ADA ramps. So it's a lot of work on the pavements and on the sidewalk and the asphalt, and they're coming along nicely. If anybody has questions about the Big X, let me know. Yes.
So I have received a few questions from people who think that we're doing this project, wondering why the sidewalk by the mall is so wide.
Okay, I'm not, well, maybe, I guess. It's wider than, oh, no. Go ahead, Nick.
Eli actually gave me this answer at our MPO meeting because I asked something similar. But according to what I'd heard, the answer is because ODOT is shifting the bike lane from the road surface to the sidewalk level. And so it's not actually changing the amount that's allocated to sort of active transportation versus road transportation. It's just moving that level up, and that's why the sidewalk looks so large. Is that thumbs up on that?
Yes, I've heard the question a different way, so that's why I think that's, yes. Eli did mention that to me, that question came up at Tradco. So yes, some people it does look like that's what's happened, but it's just because of changing where the bike lanes were. Yes. Alrighty. Okay, so then we have Glenwood Coleman. This project is coming along very nicely as well. If you've driven down there, they're finishing out all the driveways for the local businesses, and then they'll continue on with the sidewalk and the bus stops and the ADA ramps there as well. And then Barnett Highland dual right turn lane, that project is still on the schedule to get started in 2026. As everybody knows, we need this, especially for the morning and afternoon traffic. So we don't see any changes with this project coming up. I don't foresee there being any issues. City of Medford helped contribute money to this project, so I know that everybody's invested in, and so that one's moving forward. And that's it. That's all the ones that we have.
Questions? Yes, Nick.
So on the county portion of Foothills, the portion that's north of Coker Butte, is that something that's part of ODOT? Or is that just a county?
It depends exactly where you're referring to. What do you mean? Like, because
so as I recall, maybe I'm misremembering, but as I recall, there was another county phase that was like between Coker Butte and Vilas or parts beyond that includes the really sharp S-turn that's there just over the hill. And that has not been done or changed, and I wasn't sure if that was in the ODOT scope of work or if that was just a county thing, and John Viles.
John has the answer for that one.
Mr. Vile.
So that's a county project. The section that the county did, that ODOT delivered for them, they combined it with our project due to, it made a lot of sense for efficiencies. ODOT, or the county, does not have that next phase from Dry Creek up to Vilas. That's the next section, Dry Creek to Vilas. That is not a funded project yet. The county is desperately seeking funds to get that portion done.
Thank you, Mr. Vile.
Other
John.
questions? One question for myself, and I think you've essentially already answered. I just want to confirm. There's a lot of, I guess, maybe unknowns as far as ODOT and deliveries coming out of this last legislative session, but the Highland churn lanes, those are appropriated and obligated funds, and we don't have anything to worry about there.
Yes, sir. The funds for that project and several other ones that we have are already considered funded, and we have the ability to move forward. There may be projects down the road. Obviously, we will let City of Medford know if it's any project that's going to impact you, but as of right now, there are no projects that are coming off due to budget issues at all. And we have not been told to expect that at all either.
Okay. Well, thank you. Oh, Kevin.
Yeah, I saw a report today that says that because of the potential, well, cuts, I guess they're not potential anymore, because of the cuts, what is it? The ODOT property, so I guess in Portland area, the city takes care of some of the trash and issues that happen on the ODOT property near Portland. Is any of that a concern here, where
Yes,
ODOT will have less funding to take
yes.
take proper care of ODOT property in the area?
Yes, yes, and yes. Without the funding package, it does limit ODOT's ability for our district, our maintenance crew, to do a lot of the things that are more extra or not always the highest priority. Their priority is the roads, their priority is fire season, winter time, getting the roads cleared, and the other things that fall in line, that is the areas that they cut grass or weed eat so it doesn't cause a fire, or so that it's part of our right-of-way. Those things, yes, it is going to cause problems with the budget as far as what can be done, what is going to need additional funding, what is going to need some working with City of Medford, Jackson County conversations. Yes, yes, we're not there. We don't know exactly anything yet, and the person that will be discussing it with the county and City of Medford will be Eli. So, but yes, we do have many concerns related to the budget and how we can still work together with the community to make sure everything is done as it should be.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Mary. Thank you. Next up, we have a Juneteenth event update. Vance Beach is here tonight. I will note that I attended this event, and you know what? There was a little bit of rain, but honestly, it was great. You guys did a super job at that.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. And sorry I don't have all the pictures and videos and stuff, but trust him. It was great. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak tonight. More importantly, thank you for standing with us in celebration of something deeply meaningful, Juneteenth, the Day of Freedom. My name is Vance Beach. I'm the founder and executive director of BASE, which is Black Alliance and Social Empowerment, a grassroots Black-led organization rooted right here in Southern Oregon. BASE is dedicated to building an inclusive, empowered community by uplifting youth, families, and culture through education, leadership, development, community celebration, and unapologetic joy. Each year, Juneteenth in Medford has grown from a local gathering into a transformational community-wide celebration, a living tribute to freedom, resilience, belonging, and the continued pursuit of equity. And that growth, that impact, would not be possible without the steadfast support of the City of Medford. Your sponsorship, though not a direct financial contribution to BASE, is deeply felt. It covers critical infrastructure like on-site parking staff, street closures, overtime for police and public works, and the full waiver of the rental fees for Pear Blossom Park. These contributions are not just logistical, they are deeply symbolic. They say we see you, they say we value this, and that our community responds in kind. This year's Juneteenth celebration, even in the less than perfect weather, which it was less than perfect, drew record-breaking attendance with over 1,000 people coming together from all over the state to celebrate culture, freedom, and unity right here in the heart of Medford. We saw live African drumming, soul, and Afrobeat performances, youth-led speeches that stirred hearts and sparked pride, cultural education, vibrant artistry, and mouth-watering food. And most remarkably, we had over 75 vendors and organizations, many of them Black-owned businesses, which are too often unseen in our region. Juneteenth became a platform for economic empowerment, especially for Black entrepreneurs and youth-led businesses. But it also became a place of connection where nonprofits, health providers, educators, and community service agencies, regardless of race, came to engage, share resources, and celebrate alongside with us. This wasn't just a Black event, it was an event for everyone. Because while we serve and center Black community through our work, the impact is far-reaching. The inclusion and representation we champion benefits the entire region, and we felt that. That's the power of equity. When the most historically excluded are lifted, everyone rises. Let's not forget Oregon's very founding excluded Black people by law. Juneteenth right here in Medford is a powerful counter-narrative. It says we are here, we belong, we contribute, and we thrive. Your investment in this day doesn't just support an event, it supports Black youth feeling proud, represented, families feeling safe, welcome, and seen in public spaces, vital community conversations about history, resilience, and progress, and a lasting tradition that will shape Medford's cultural identity for generations to come. This is civic pride. This is what community building looks like. So on behalf of BASE and the countless community members whose lives were touched, inspired, and empowered by this event, we thank you. Thank you for being our partner. Thank you for believing in this work. And thank you for helping make Medford not just a city that hosts Juneteenth, but a city that truly honors it. And I'll close with this. As we look toward the future, toward even greater inclusion, deeper investment, and lasting cultural legacy, I ask that you not only continue your support, but consider growing it. Because what we're building together is bigger than a day. It's a movement. It's a new story for Medford. And we're just getting started. So thank you so much. Any questions on the special day?
Questions? Do you mind just sharing a little bit about what your organization does beyond this?
Beyond
essential,
Juneteenth?
Yeah, it's the essential part of your work, I guess.
Yeah, so our organization is all about building a more inclusive community. Our equity work primarily focuses on improving and bringing well-being to the lives of Black residents here. So we have several different programs that we do. We have a youth program that helps them explore new experiences, helps to empower them. We offer different classes that they get to indulge in, as well as culture and history that they get to learn. It's a time for connection and opportunity that we, in partnership, share with a lot of the different school districts. So that's kind of our youth program. It also helps families. We, inside of there, do a mentorship program that helps guide youth and navigate through life obstacles. We work with boys and girls, so we have both genders that we work with. And outside of the youth program, we also have some equity work that we're doing and social activism work. We work with actually the police departments, 6 different agencies, Ashland Police Department, Talent, Central Point, Phoenix, Medford, and the Jackson County Sheriff. And what that is about is it's about bridging a gap, a historical gap that's been long overdue, trying to establish better relationships and communication so that people feel safe and they feel like they have a process and a team that they can go to, that they feel that if they do report something to the police, they are safe and those interactions are improved. And so we're improving relationships with the police departments in our community. We also have a directory that helps businesses that are trying to get off the ground here. We try to bring representation to them. And overall, within the community, to connect people, we try to ensure that we are collaborating with lots of different partners, ensuring that there is inclusion. We work with a lot of different agencies here, providing opportunities for maybe groups that are not necessarily reached, such as Black community members. We have a little over 1,000 that are directly connected into our organization. So we can do some specific outreach to help people feel more involved and included. And with that, we do a lot of different cultural celebrations to make sure that this particular group is represented and shared in this community. And that involves Juneteenth, Kwanzaa. We obviously do MLK in collaboration. And we do a series of different events for Black History Month. So it's a little bit about what we do.
Awesome. Other questions? Thanks for coming down, and
Thank you.
great event. And
Yeah,
looking
thank you.
forward to
Thank
it
you so
next
much
year.
for speaking. Mary,
bet.
you were great. Thanks.
Next up, we have Mary Farrell with Maslow Project for a community update as well. And not to be exclusionary, but you're not on my list, so you're gonna have to introduce yourself when you come up.
See, I told you that. My name is Mary Farrell. I'm the founder and executive director of Maslow Project, and with me is Cheyenne Nichols and Matt Northrup, and there are two program directors, and they're going to talk a little bit about the programs that the City of Medford currently is funding. And I'd just like to say we got our first grant with the City of Medford in 2008, and we have received some sort of funding ever since. This is the first time we've been asked to come and speak to the council, so thanks for the invite. We're happy to share a little bit about our organization. Am I using a clicker here? Okay, so really quickly, Maslow Project serves Jackson and Josephine County. We work with children who are experiencing homelessness between the ages of 0 and 24, and no 0-year-olds are not usually homeless on their own. So we also work with families experiencing homelessness or youth who are on their own. And these would be defined by the current federal definition of homelessness, which is lacking a regular, adequate, and fixed nighttime residence. And we also work with youth who are leaving foster care. In Medford specifically, in the 23-24 school year, which aligns with our program year, we served 1,116 homeless youth and families in Medford. That's unduplicated. Our agency works with about 3,000 unduplicated people a year between the two counties. 808 of those 1,000 were school-aged children, and 118 were under the age of 5. The average age of the child between 0 and 18 that we worked with that year was 12.7. And so with that, I'm going to hand this over to Cheyenne, who's going to talk a little bit about our school-based programs and what we do with the ARP funds that we currently have.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, a lot of the work that we're doing is with folks like this girl here, Sarah. She was highly mobile, experiencing homelessness with her mom, and kind of back and forth between couch surfing. And we were able to connect with her and her mom on outreach and engage them into our services and really help this kiddo get enrolled in school. And we love her quote because she says, "This is the best day of my life. I am so happy I get to go to school and see other kids." We were able to help enroll her, set up transportation so that a bus was coming to pick them up at different places that they were staying each night, and then engage in case management management support. So a lot of what we're doing is those safety net supports, ensuring that they're getting basic needs supports through clothing, hygiene, meals, things that kiddos need for school, and then start working on goal plans and educational progress. With our older youth, we're doing a lot of academic support and ensuring that there aren't any barriers to their education. They're coming to school regularly, they are passing their classes, and have everything that they need to be successful in school. We also are, connected and creating pathways to our permanent supportive housing program. So our case managers are coordinating with our Maslow housing programs to make sure that we're going to supporting barrier removal process with deposits, rental assistance, and supporting eviction prevention to really end that homelessness and keep students in their residence schools. That's the goal, is that they're staying continuously in their schools and building up those social supports so they can be successful and graduate. This is one of our seniors this year. We're proud to report that 91% of our students, our seniors, graduated on time. So that was 79 out of 87 seniors, which was really amazing. The state average for students experiencing homelessness in Oregon is 60% graduating on time. So very proud of our team for the work that they're doing. And this is so important because we know that lacking a high school diploma is the single greatest risk factor for adult chronic homelessness. And that's you.
Hello, I'm Matt Northrup, another program director for Maslow Project. With our CDBG funding, we use that to support our Medford Resource Center. You might notice the building. I'm sure you've been by it. It was formerly the Medford School District Admin Building. So our Resource Center basically focuses as a central point of access to resource distribution, case management, and advocacy. Upon initial arrival, we are able to do triage and crisis intervention and navigation of resources, whether those are in fact our resources or if they're going to be resources through another community partner. We do that both in person and over the phone all day. And then upon intake, we're doing assessments and screenings for what people's goals are. And then we do one assessment that we primarily do is called coordinated entry. That's a partnership it's part of a program that we have with our Jackson County Continuum of Care, where we as agencies throughout the county can decide like who's got what services that's going to serve these people the best and point them in the right direction for all of those different services. Our case management, we do goal planning, we assess self-sufficiency, we assess barriers to people's goals and how we can remove those barriers. Like Cheyenne spoke about, we have a permanent supportive housing program. So in our resource center through our case management, we're doing a lot of housing navigation to fill those units. For instance, in Medford this year, we did have the opportunity to fill 20 new apartment units through our partnership with the Housing Authority of Jackson County. Those were new units that we filled, but in addition, we have 12 to 14 other rotating units in Medford alone that we fill and then case manage those people as they're going throughout our program. It serves as a base for our outreach program, and then it is a safe space and it's trauma informed. It allows us to serve our youth and our families in a safe way and trauma-informed way. And then we do have basic need services like a food pantry, a clothing closet. People can get their mail there. We have computers and phones and other resources available. Our mission is to end youth homelessness sooner through a holistic approach that builds resilience and preserves hope. And we thank you for your continued support in ending youth homelessness. Do you have any questions for the three of us?
Questions? Yes, Mr. Card.
So something that I wasn't aware that you guys are doing is something that has actually been near and dear to us as we've been talking about a lot of, one of the challenges around homelessness is how do we get ahead of the problem rather than just treating the symptoms of continued, trying to take people who are homeless and get them back off the streets. Let's stop that from happening in the first place. And that is, like I said, I didn't actually know you were doing that until I just got to see that on the presentation. And I think that's something that that. I would love to see some more detail about that for myself, and I don't know, maybe it's in here. I haven't had a chance to look through all your material, as well as what are the kind of dollars and what's your like, I don't know the right term, like, what's the productivity that you are able to get out of in terms of cost per helping families? Because something we've talked about a lot is how can we help support those efforts for our community, because it would be great for us to just not, to solve this problem in a more permanent way than just treating it as an ongoing problem. So anyway, awesome to see that, and if you have more information, I'd love to see it.
We can certainly send some more analysis on that, but what's kind of funny to me is I've spent the last 20 years of my career trying to get people to understand that prevention pays, but nobody wants to fund prevention. But like one of those slides said, if you do not graduate high school, you are 7 times more likely to end up chronically homeless as an adult. So you can kind of do the math when you think about how many kids are out there experiencing homelessness. The fact that we're able to graduate, and the majority of them on time, is significant. So the number of, in my opinion, it is the single best upstream strategy to stop chronic homelessness, is address it while they're young.
So is that 91% for this year like an outlier, or is it, is it like what do you've seen like the last 5 years? Like, is that, what's it look like for like the years prior to that?
Yeah, I could go back at least 3 years, but last year was 86%, the year before was 92%. Majority of the time, the ratio is primarily the same. This year, there were more seniors. Last year, that 86%, I think, was, because it felt low to me,
Yeah.
contributed a little bit because we had a smaller senior class across all of our schools. But yeah, generally we're really in that 85 to 92%, and being that the state average has stayed fairly consistently at 60% is awesome.
So to dig a little bit into it, is there something that you guys do that's not happening with similar organizations statewide in terms of assisting students?
We're lucky that we get to be partnered with our schools. The McKinney-Vento law does require that there is a person in districts identifying those students and making sure that certain rights are being upheld. But it's primarily folks that wear multiple hats. They're also district personnel. So the fact that we are able to be a community-based organization, we operate all year round. We're not just open when school is open. And we have case managers that are highly skilled, highly trained to both support kids in school, but look at full picture, full wraparound support, and kind of address all of the different areas and needs of the students, not just academic supports. I think that's why a big part of the reason why we see those outcomes.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Do you still accept donations of things? And if so, what are the kinds of things that you're looking for?
Yes, we do. Primarily food and hygiene supplies are always in need. We accept new clothing. We do accept camping supplies, different things that you think you might need if you're exposed to the elements, but always food and hygiene.
Well, thank you so much for coming in.
We appreciate it.
Okay, so we will move on to oral requests and communications from the audience. Set the stage a little bit for this. The City Council sets aside 30 minutes for in-person public comments. Comments are limited to 2 minutes per person or organization. As outlined in the agenda, the public may also submit written comments to the council. And there were no written comments received for tonight's meeting. Before hearing public comments, I would like to note the decorum policy for the council chambers. The use of noisemakers or disruptive audience behavior such as applause, cheering, or shouting is not permitted. Decorum violations are time-consuming and disrespectful to the speaker and all attendees. Failure to follow the basic standards of decorum may result in removal from the meeting. Finally, I would like to emphasize that this is your opportunity to provide comments to the council and is not intended to be a time for question and answers. If you have completed a public comment form, please come to the front of the room when your name is called. Winnie, has anyone filled out a public comment form? Nicholas?
Hello again. This is another of your 2 monthly reminders that your Medford Police Department is providing subpar overdose response and preventing others from providing effective response, sometimes under threat of arrest. Specifically, MPD refuses to do rescue breathing and interferes when others are providing rescue breathing. They base this off a misreading of an article from the American Heart Association published in 2021. This is why that matters. When someone overdoses on an opioid, it means that they are not getting enough oxygen. Often it means they aren't breathing at all. Narcan reverses the effect of the opioid, but it takes up to 3 minutes and sometimes multiple doses to work. At that 3-minute mark is when extensive brain damage becomes likely. Death may become imminent at 5 minutes. The average wait time for EMS in our country is 7 minutes or more. And that means that while we are waiting for EMS and the medication to work, we should be getting oxygen into people as fast as possible. Doing so not only helps prevent a fatality, it helps prevent brain damage. Study shows that for every fatal overdose, there are 15 non-fatal ones. In Jackson County, that averages out to 30 a week. How many of these have caused brain injury? What does that do to people? How does that affect the likelihood that someone will overdose again? How do these injuries create another significant barrier to people accessing treatment or other resources to get them off the street? These are concerns that should be a priority for this council. The best way to respond to these concerns is to make sure that the people that beat EMS to the scene, often our police, perform rescue breathing as a part of a complete overdose response approved by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Administration, or at the very least, they should not be allowed to stop people who have received better training than they have. Every harm reduction organization in our county agrees with this approach. Our county government, health and human services agree with this approach. Our hospitals and other healthcare agencies that offer training to the public agree with this approach. Thanks for your time.
Anyone else? Anyone that did not fill out a form that might want to speak? Okay. Seeing none, we are moving on to approval or correction of the June 18th, 2025 minutes. Everyone received a draft. Does anyone have any revisions or corrections to those minutes? All right, seeing none, the minutes will stand as submitted. Agenda item 60, consent calendar. There are 7 items on the consent calendar tonight. Mr. Mitten, breathe deep.
Item 6.1 is Council Bill 2025-56. An ordinance approving and authorizing purchases of Vector 2100i combination truck and associated implements from Owen Equipment in the amount of $662,860.89 through the Sourcewell Purchasing Agreement. Item 6.2 is Council Bill 2025-57. An ordinance approving and authorizing purchase of a Wirtgen W120 FTI asphalt mill in the amount of $476,024.67 through the Sourcewell Purchasing Agreement. Item 6.3 is Council Bill 2025-58. An ordinance approving and authorizing the purchase of a Crosswind 1 regenerative air street sweeper and associated implements and parts from Owen Equipment in the amount of $469,021.16 through the Sourcewell Purchasing Agreement. Item 6.4 is Council Bill 2025-59. A resolution setting a public hearing date and initiating vacation proceedings for unimproved street rights-of-way for 2 50-foot wide segments from Belknap Road located between Garfield Street and Center Drive, then east of Center Drive to the terminus of the subject Belknap Road right-of-way. Subject rights-of-way are within the heavy commercial zoning district. Item 60.5 is Council Bill 2025-60. A resolution setting the public hearing date and initiating vacation proceedings for portions of East 3rd Street extending between North Bartlett Street and East Jackson Street, and Apple Street extending between East 3rd and East 4th Street. Subject rights-of-way are within the community commercial zoning district. Item 60.6 is Council Bill 2025-61. An ordinance authorizing and approving an amendment of the 2018 Telecommunications Intergovernmental Agreement for Police and Fire Dispatch Services with Emergency Communications Southern Oregon in the amount of $2,431,173.96, of which $1,638,625.59 is for police and $792,548.37 is for fire for dispatch services during fiscal year 2025-26. And item 60.7 is Council Bill 2025-62, an ordinance approving and authorizing a naming rights agreement with Lithium Motors, Inc. to construct a dedicated pickleball facility at Howard Memorial Sports Park. The term of the agreement is 10 years with 2 10-year extension options. Thank you.
Entertain a motion. Mr. Stein?
I move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
All right. Items to be removed. Mr. Stein?
60.7.
Okay. Any others? All right. We will ballot on the remaining items. Winnie, could we have roll call, please?
Kevin Stein,
Yes.
Garrett West,
Yes.
John Quinn,
Yes.
Jessica Ayers,
Yes.
Nick Card,
Yes.
and Kevin Keating.
Yes.
We have 6 yes.
60.7, would you, questions or just a brief staff report?
Yeah, can we get a brief staff report on the craze taking over the nation, which is pickleball? And what Medford is doing to fulfill some of that need.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Rich Rosenthal, your Parks and Recreation Director, and thank you, Councilor Stein, for your question. The brief summary of this agenda item is requesting your approval of a $500,000 naming rights agreement with Lithium Motors. Would be the last money in needed to start construction of the 19 dedicated pickleball courts that will be known as Lithia and Driveway Pickleball Courts. Here is the Howard Memorial Sports Park site plan. You can see the pickleball facility that is planned there south of the existing Rogex facility. I'll use the mouse to point it out. Right there, if you can see the cursor, maybe not. You can see that there's opportunity to build not only 19 courts, but an additional 6 in the future development phase. The initial development phase is approximately $1.8 million, and your approval would be the last money in, and we'd be able to start construction as soon as this fall. It would be about a 4-month period of time, depending on the weather and other variables, that this facility could be online, ready to go in the springtime of next year. Since we're talking about Howard Memorial Sports Park and pickleball, there are other amenities planned here. You can see to the south there's 3 sand volleyball courts that would be developed at approximately the same time as the pickleball facility. And in the northeast is a neighborhood park. Many people can see the concrete for the Vietnam Memorial Wall replica that's already there in the intersection of Ross and Ross Anley. That's where the neighborhood park features will go as well, serving about 2,000 residents within a half-mile radius. Logos Public Charter Schools building their auxiliary building just to the south of that. And also something that is being worked on are the youth ball fields on the west side of the property, 3 Little League sized fields that would serve 12 and under baseball and 18 and under fast pitch softball. So there's a lot going on with the facility and all different little projects with varying degrees of when those projects will start and when they will be completed. But the bottom line is efforts are underway to complete the substantial completion of Howard Memorial Sports Park in the next year and a half.
Mr. Card?
I know we've had a lot of success with our outdoor sports facilities here, Lithia and Driveway Fields, chief among them. Are we anticipating that these pickleball courts are going to help bring additional activities and tournament and hopefully some economic activity to the valley?
It will be a bonanza of economic activity. And not to forget that there's intense demand for pickleball, drop-in pickleball use every single day that the weather is nice. So it not only would serve local need, but it would be economic stimulus, very similar to what the sports park and Rogex do right now. Every single day, every single month, every single year. So the economic impact is hard to project, but there will be tournaments, there will be regional tournaments. Hopefully we can attract national tournaments, and there's room for growth, and there's an opportunity to have really big tournaments because the Rogex, the event center, does have the capacity to have 32 pickleball courts striped.
Did you have something, Kevin?
Yeah, I can't remember. Are any of the courts going to be covered?
Not as part of the initial phase.
Okay.
That certainly is something that would really be nice to have, a covered outdoor pickleball facility, but that you know, the wait for the money that would be needed to do that, we'd rather just build it and then make that a future phase.
And one thing to point out, and I don't know how clearly you can see it, it's actually right where Rich put the cursor, but there's going to be a main court. It's like a championship court part of that, which is kind of, I mean, it's kind of funny to laugh, but it is actually like, it's a really cool amenity to have with it. So you can have like, oh man, just like they do at tennis, right? They'll have like Wimbledon, they have center court. So we'll have the center court of pickleball here. So, you know, people can view the best that want to come and play. So I don't know. I look at all this, and it's you know, when we got the Rogax done, that was only a part of what can be done for the community, and it's really just building out the rest of it that's happening now, and it's really exciting to see. You know, Logos is doing their thing, which helps us with the parking that you can see right above their new spot, and then the construction is going on with the wall and the getting the neighborhood park done there. So there's a lot of good things happening in this area, where as someone that lives right there, there just hasn't been like a neighborhood park in that area. So it'll be really nice it's a pretty large amount of houses in that area that are looking forward to some more things happening there. So thank you, Rich and team, for getting all that done.
Thank you, Councilor.
Any other questions? Are you doing a question?
Motion.
So prior to motion, I'm just going to say, as disclosure, I'm on the West Howard Sports Park Board. In the event that I end up voting, I have zero financial conflict here and no bias that would affect my decision-making for the city of Medford.
Yeah, I'll ditto all that, except I'm a different person.
Well, I will say I move to approve Council Bill 2025-62.
Second.
So motion, Mr. Card, second, Mr. Stein. Any discussion? Woody, will you call the roll, please? Thanks, Rich.
Nick Card,
Yes.
Kevin Stein,
Yes.
Garrett West,
Yes.
John Quinn,
Yes.
Kevin Keating,
Yes.
and Jessica Ayers.
Yes.
We have 6 yes.
All right, well, that passes. Okay, so we're on, double check me, 80? Mr. Benton? Is there an
Yes.
80.1?
There is an 80.1. It is Council Bill 2025-63, an ordinance approving and authorizing execution of a contract in the amount of $585,341 with Leduc Construction LLC to perform fish passage improvements on Lazy Creek between Bear Creek and Highland Drive.
Okay, and before anyone thinks I'm crazy, in my iPad, it is identified as 70.1, so I'm not completely nuts. Okay, so we do have this in front of us, so motion, we'd like at least a brief staff report, Mr. Vile.
Mayor, Council, John Vile, the former Public Works Director for the City of Medford. So the agenda item that we're seeking your approval is a $585,341 project to Leduc Construction to complete a project on Lazy Creek to assist with fish passage. So the genesis from this project actually is created from a different location. So back in 2001, the city built a large stormwater detention facility just to the east of McAndrews Road, as shown here on this map, that impacted the fish passage and habitat and some wetlands for Lazy Creek. In order to do that, we had to get a permit from the Army Corps of Engineers and the Oregon Division of State Lands, and through that process, we were required to complete mitigation for that impact in another location further down in the Lazy Creek drainage. So the location of this project is between the BMX track and the dog park, right off of just west of Highland Drive here in Medford, where that star is at. Basically, what we have out there is an old, dilapidated box culvert But the primary problem, and it's kind of hard to see with all the brush in the way, but you can see a fish ladder here that is very antiquated and basically does not function for the huge majority of the time. And so Fish and Wildlife came to us and said, in order to have this impact at the Oregon Hills facility, you need to fix this facility. So what this project scope does is it removes all the existing structures and it builds a roughened channel in Lazy Creek, which is basically a series of pools with a small drop over rock weirs to the next pool, and then building a 30-foot bridge crossing Lazy Creek. This last bullet I just would include more for entertainment purposes than anything else. This project required permits from the Army Corps of Engineers, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the National Marine Fisheries Science Organization, Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, Oregon Division of State Lands, and Oregon DEQ, as well as some local permits. So this was a permitting challenge project. The roughened channel, as I noted, it has a series of rock weirs, basically little rock dams, and then the water flows over those into the next pool and continues down the stream, basically flattens the channel out and makes fish passage much easier. A profile view shows just a series of small pools over the rock weirs. And then we will build a bridge crossing that area, replacing the demolished box culvert. We advertised in May, had a 3-week bid time frame. We got 2 bidders. Leduc was the low bidder at $585,000. You can see Knife River was second. Construction will start upon award from the City Council, and we funded this with storm drain utility fees. And staff does recommend your approval for the project.
Great questions, Kevin?
Just a question. I've never heard of Leduc Construction. Is that something new? I was looking it up. It's either out of Central Point or Medford, depending on which address is accurate. Have you worked with them before? Do you know anything about them?
Yes, they've been around for a long time. They build lots of projects in this area, typically smaller projects. This is kind of, I wouldn't say it's a larger project for them. They build projects of this size, but Leduc has been around for a long time.
Okay, thank you.
Nick?
So I understand that this isn't actually relevant in the slightest to this request because it kind of doesn't matter what the truth of the matter is. It matters what these the alphabet soup forces us to do. But are we actually having a fish passage problem on Lazy Creek? I mean, is there actual documented science that shows we're having a fish passage problem?
So I'm not a fish biologist, but what the fish biologists tell us is that yes, we actually are having a problem. That during winter storms, when the streams, Bear Creek just gets ripping, the small fish, the fries that live in these streams, migrate up these smaller channels to escape the high flows that would just wash them down the stream. So a lot of these side channels are considered prime rearing habitat for anadromous fish species, and so what we hear is we are having a fish passage problem, and this is a significant issue that they'd like to see addressed. Whether that's 100% accurate, you'd have to take that up with the fish biologists.
Thank you, John.
Mr. Weil, first I want to thank any staff member for permitting, because that sounds absolutely terrible. But with the removal of the bridge in Bear Creek Park, how long are we thinking the bridge is going to be out of service?
So that bridge, let's see if we can get back to that picture. That's actually not part of the Greenway Trail. It's a little side path that goes between the dog park and the BMX track, and so the Greenway will still be open. This will be closed, but there's a pretty easy work around just to go over to the Greenway Trail.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, it's right. The BMX bikes could jump over it. Yeah, there you go.
Other questions? Entertain a motion. Mr. Stein?
I move to approve Council Bill 2025, Tax 63.
Second.
So, motion by Mr. Stein, second by Mr. Card. Discussion? Winnie, will you call the roll? Thanks, John.
Kevin Stein,
Yes.
Nick Card,
Yes.
Kevin Keating,
Yes.
John Quinn,
Yes.
Jessica Ayers,
Yes.
and Garrett West.
Yes.
We have 6 yes.
Moving on to our public hearing for the evening, but before the public hearing, just remind everyone that the previous rules stated are still applicable. So, yeah, let's have decorum. This evening, we have one land use legislative hearing. If you'd like to speak during this hearing, please complete a blue comment form to be called forward. Comments for administrative or legislative hearings are limited to 4 minutes per individual. 90.1 is Council Bill 2025-64. Mr. Minton.
Thank you, Your Honor. Council Bill 2564 is an ordinance vacating 3 portions totaling approximately 606 square feet of Yamsey Drive, an unimproved right-of-way located within Sky Lakes Village at Cedar Landing subdivision, Phase 7A. The subject areas are located at the intersection of future Yamsey Drive and Mount Thielson Drive and are within the SFR 4 PD, single-family residential, 4 dwelling units per gross acre planned development overlay zoning district.
Great, thank you, and take a staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Dustin Sievers with the Planning Department. I should have for you a pretty quick presentation. This is for the vacation of rights-of-way on Yamsey Drive. Okay, now looking at our legal requirements, so the criteria for a vacation are found in section 10.2284 of the Land Development Code. It's shown on the screen here. It's also included in your staff reports. So this is a type 4 application. The City Council is the final approving authority, and the Planning Commission acts as an advisory agency, and they did hear this at the public hearing held on June 12th, and they did forward a favorable recommendation for the vacation. Looking at our project summary, so the subject site is located in northeast Medford. It is included as part of the Yamsey Drive, which is an unimproved right-of-way located within the Sky Lakes Village at Cedar Landing subdivision. The area's general land use plan designation is urban residential, and its zoning classification is SFR 4. It's also located within the Cedar Landing Plan Unit Development. So this was approved back in 2006, replaced what used to be the golf course, the Cedar Links Golf Course. And shown on the screen here is the original phasing plan that was approved back in 2006. Originally had 4 subsections shown here, including the Sky Lakes Village. Of course, since that time, it's been through several revisions. And the proposal is simply to vacate 3 portions of Yamsey Drive, and these vacation portions total approximately 606 square feet. So I'm going to give you a real quick history of the Yamsey Drive. So shown on the screen here is the original time that Yamsey Drive was platted. It was called the Yamsey Parkway at the time. As you can see, it terminated in a cul-de-sac, and the surrounding area was undeveloped reserve acreage for future development. So fast forward to 2021, the applicant came in for a replat of the subdivision. As you can see, since that time, much of the surrounding area has either been platted or actually built out. So they proposed that to change the cul-de-sac to a T intersection, thereby they can make the connection between the 2 termini of Mount Thielson shown on this the aerial view below. So the Public Works Department was supportive of the request. They did have 2 requirements. One, that they gained approval for the revised layout through the city engineer, and also that they vacate any excess right-of-way that resulted from the change from a cul-de-sac to a T intersection. So the final plat was approved in July of 2024, so now the applicant is coming in to fulfill that final requirement, is to simply vacate these portions, again, total 606 square feet, and with the completion of the vacation, the land will revert back to the surrounding owner, which is the applicant. They own the entire surrounding area. So then there's findings and recommendations that bring us back to our vacation criteria. So this was initiated by council, so it can be found that the applicable criteria found in ORS 271.130 have been addressed, and they have also been satisfied. So staff recommends council approve the vacation based on the findings and conclusions in the council report dated June 25th, 2025, including exhibits A through I. And with that, I can take questions. Thank you.
Are there any questions? I have a question that is just for the heck of it. Can you go back to right there. What is that little piece of frontage, I guess? Where's that right-of-way going? Let's call it south of the open space A, right in there.
I'm sorry, which area, which map are we looking at?
That open spot right there. What does that go to a lot? Where's that land go to?
So you have Mount Thielson's to the east. And eventually they connect to Mount Thielson, which is the termini is to the west.
So to the east, there's a like a path connection, or what goes through there?
The street, yeah, I'm not sure. I see what you're referring to now, this area. I'm not sure. So I'm not sure if there's a complete connection now to that, to Mount Filson, but ultimately that would be the goal, to make that connection. Which had a better view than what that vicinity map is showing.
It's just my curiosity anyway. Sorry about that. Sorry, council, for holding.
We do have Mr. Galpin, Mr. Galpin's the applicant here. Perhaps you have some further insight on it.
Okay. Other questions for staff? All right. Everyone heard that gavel, right? Public hearing's open. Anyone wishing to speak on the subject, please come forward as called. Please identify yourself for the record before speaking. Did anyone sign up to testify? Anyone that did not sign up that would like to testify? All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Do we have a motion, or is there a need for additional questions? Yes, ma'am.
I move to approve the ordinance as presented.
Second.
All right, we'll give the voice in the sky the second on that. That's Mr. Keating. Any discussion prior to? Okay. Winnie, will you call the roll, please?
Jessica Ayers,
Yes.
Kevin Keating,
Yes.
John Quinn,
Yes.
Kevin Stein,
Yes.
Garrett West,
Abstain.
and Nick Card.
Yes.
We have 5 yes and 1 abstention.
All right, motion passes. Moving on to, is this 100? Yes. Okay. Council business, but I do have a proclamation to share first. Unfortunately, our beloved Rich Rosenthal has left, but this is for Parks and Recreation Month, which clearly is a celebration of all of our wonderful parks employees and volunteers that help make a lot of great things possible. But of course, what we just saw tonight was the portion of the Howard Sports Park. So whereas parks, recreation activities, and leisure experiences provide opportunities for young people to live, grow, and develop into contributing members of society, and whereas parks and recreation create lifelines and continue life experiences for older members of our community, and whereas parks and recreation generate opportunities for people to come together and experience a sense of community through fun recreational pursuits, and whereas parks, playgrounds, ball fields, nature trails, open spaces, community and cultural centers, and historic sites make a community attractive and desirable while contributing to our ongoing economic vitality. And whereas parks, greenways, and open space provide a welcome respite from our fast-paced, high-tech lifestyles while protecting and preserving our natural environment. And whereas parks and recreation agencies touch the lives of individuals, families, groups, and the entire community, which positively impacts the social, economic, and environmental quality of our community. Now therefore, I, Michael Zarazinski, Mayor of Medford, do hereby proclaim July 2025 as Parks and Recreation Month and encourage all citizens to celebrate by participating in their choice of leisure activity. Let's see, and one more thing before moving on, I would like to reappoint Ryan Risby to the youth member position on the Parks and Recreation Commission. And this appointment does require council confirmation.
Second. Or moved.
Second.
All right. Moved by Mr. Stein, seconded by Nick Card. Just for simplicity, a voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, ayes have it. Also, you have it, Mr. Card.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had a hearty council officers meeting today. 7 items on the agenda. First item, med school council work group. So we've got a CCIF request coming up for some additional funding related to the med school. Eventually the goal to get to, MOU and all the rest of that stuff. There is a question before us from staff. Would staff like to, or would council like to have staff update us as a regular part of council briefings, or do we want to set up some kind of an ad hoc committee for the med school as we did with the Creekside Quarter? Feedback from council.
I'm going to suggest ad hoc.
I have 1 vote for ad hoc.
I'm for ad hoc as long as I'm not on it.
All right. We have an ad hoc.
I agree.
Okay, so ad hoc it is, unless don't everybody else speak up at once.
If there is a committee, I would like to be on it.
You want to be on it?
Me too.
Okay, so we've got 2 volunteers. Does anyone else want to talk about med school?
I have no strong feelings about this.
All right.
Yeah, I do, actually.
All right, three is a perfect number. All right, congratulations, Mr. Field. You have your ad hoc committee. Thank you, Mr. West, Mr. Quinn, Mr. Keating. Second thing, Mr. Field brought us a proposal sort of to get our appetite for a water commission joint study session. As we discussed in council officers, one of the big concerns we had is what do we actually want to talk about in such a session? So Rob and Brad will work together on an agenda, and if they can come up with something that seems to be useful to us, we'll probably be looking at sometime in the fall, so we'll revisit this once they've had more time for conversation, but that may be something that's on the agenda. Enterprise leasing. The city is proposing a vehicle leasing program to help maintain and manage the cost of acquisition, maintenance, downtime, and that kind of stuff. There'll be a 5-year rollout process that will come to us. It will be a slight increase over our current budgeted costs, but it's going to dramatically increase the age or decrease the age of the vehicles in our fleet. We learned that Parks and Rec enjoys driving around in a 1998 Dodge Avenger, and that Public Works doesn't know how to let go of the 80s when it comes to their vehicles. Disco is still alive and well in the Public Works Department, I suppose. So that'll come to us. That'll be a change in the way we handle vehicles. So this was more of an informational thing just to keep us aware.
I got a question.
Yes.
So is the hope that also that we have less spent on maintenance of these vehicles?
Yes, it's a combination of it helps us with reliability and maintenance, and while we may have some additional upfront costs as we transition, because we're getting new vehicles through this lease program. One of the biggest things that Public Works shared with us is the downtime is a really big problem for them with these vehicles. And so, you may have a vehicle that's really cheap to own and maybe it isn't even that expensive to fix, but it breaks down all the time, and what that downtime costs you a lot because now that's contractors having to come in and do work when we could just use our vehicle to do it. So, Mr. Martin gave us an update on site-specific TIFs, also known as tiny TIFs or Honey, I Shrunk the TIF. We're continuing to research and work with Mira on the different TIF programs and how that's going to impact. This is an opportunity for us to fund projects in the city, especially good for some of the kind of Mira type projects, but on a more site-specific basis. Nothing specific coming to us at this point in time, but just an update since relates to the Creekside Corridor. Number 5, CCIF requests. So we had a little bit of a conversation about the CCIF process. We are currently oversubscribed, meaning we have more requests for CCIF dollars than we do have actual dollars available. And so in the conversation that we had in council officers, we sort of came up with a suggested recommendation, and I'm seeking council's input on this. The recommendation is that instead of hearing proposals on the July 9th meeting, we take that time during the July 9th study session to talk through and create a little bit more of a robust CCIF process and what we're looking for on how we want to evaluate projects, how we want to prioritize dollars, what we want to do there, and then move the presentations to the August 13th meeting. The one exception to that is we do have some timing constraints on the med school, and so we would continue to have the med school presentation on the 9th, and then that would come back to us the following meeting on the 16th, if, for an opportunity for us to approve that. Thoughts?
No.
No.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Okay.
I prefer keeping it how it is. I prefer, because I've already told people to be there on July 9th, so I prefer to keep that instead of middle of the summer where people might be less available. So I prefer keeping it as it is, especially since it's 1 week away. I mean, this is something that literally every one of our grants committee has to deal with. This is something that, we just have to deal with where, hey, this is going to be the first time that we'll have more asks than money, and we'll have to hash it out at some point. It doesn't have to be. I mean, if you want to move our discussion on how we want to prioritize money afterwards, instead of hashing it out on next week, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But I would prefer the presentations be on that day.
Any other feedback?
I think one of us isn't available that day, but I really could go either way, putting that issue aside. I'm fine with the 9th. My people are ready.
The 9th is what we scheduled. So if no one's going to speak out in favor of that, then I'm inclined to go with what Kevin said. But
It's fine. I mean, I was fine with either way, especially since I won't be there. But if everybody else wants to keep it on the 9th, that's fair.
my only thought, and I'm interested, Kevin, because I do agree, I mean, it is last minute to change this. The concern for me is if we hear a bunch of presentations and then later on we come back and we go, actually, we really want to focus on this or this sort of thing, or this is how we want to do the guardrails, then we could be putting ourselves in a situation where we are not getting the right information next week relative to how we want to consider the funding allocations.
I guess I'm a little confused based on what all that means. Like, it's up to the council. You know, we can say, oh, we really like this project, or, oh, you know, I like that project, but I want to fund it at 10% of what they asked for, or 50% of what they asked for, or, you know what, I really don't want to, I mean, a council prerogative would be like, I don't really want to fund this thing that we might have funded in the past. And so because there's so much variety, it's one thing for housing, right? Housing, it's kind of more narrow. Like, okay, we want to prioritize housing that goes towards veterans or for young families or, pick and choose, transitional or permanency. Like things like that can be kind of like, okay, where do we want to go? I mean, this is, if you look at the asks, we have a big board of things. There's downtown items, there's the child care items, there's, swimming, there's just there's one for police on there. So there's a bunch of little objects that I don't think it really quite works with in the same that you might do with other things. So that's my hesitation there. I mean, as a council, anyone could just say, hey, that's a great project, but I think our money should be spent otherwise. And then you just try to cobble up 5 votes for however we end up.
Jessica.
I think the one caveat is, we're getting some people that I think are becoming pretty dependent on our funding. And if we don't set up some guidelines and there's expectations that funding's going to occur and then it doesn't, I mean, I get what you're saying and that we can always choose. We can always do one thing and not do another. But it would be kind of nice to have, or if we could come up with something that we all agree on that would be a little more structured and people would kind of know what to expect, and going forward, what to potentially expect for planning purposes.
Mr. West.
And taking another angle, I just want to make sure that whoever we're funding and whatever amount that is, we're receiving some kind of report back on if it was all spent or how it was spent. I have a concern about using our money for just administrative costs, for example. So it's just one of the guardrails I want to consider.
I don't disagree with that part at all,
Mr. Keating, do you have a comment?
No, I agree with what Gary was saying, and I'm really on the fence right now about the procedure. I kind of want to get a year in under my belt before I really make a statement on this right now. Thanks a lot.
All right, I will use my judgment to interpret your apathy as we continue with 7-9 as the CCIF process, and then we will have a discussion on August 13th about funding allocation and how we want to spend that money. Any objections? Great. Item number 6. Transportation items into TSP. So roundabout way that this ended up happening, but we are preparing to launch our TSP process, and we added a number of transportation-related projects to our council goals. This is an ideal time for us to begin the investigation on these projects because we're bringing to bear through the TSP process the exact kind of resources and data analytics and stuff that we would need to assess the viability of these projects. But for us to include these projects on the TSP, what we have in our council goals are like street names and vague aspirations. And so we need to get a little bit more concrete with what we want to do with those. And so staff is seeking an ad hoc committee to sort of define the scope and scale of some of the transportation asks that we have in council goals. I think that makes a lot of sense. Garrett and I have already volunteered to be a part of it. Does anyone else want to participate?
I have my mic on, but it's not to participate in transportation
that's a
ad
no.
hoc. I'm limiting myself to one ad hoc. My question is,
yes,
you know, we do have a transportation commission. Would it be helpful to have one of those members be as part of your ad hoc? That way, you know, you can have a member there to kind of say, hey, the council's doing this, that, and the other thing.
The goal, I think, for the that's not a bad idea because a lot of the TSP stuff will filter through the Transportation Commission. This is really to help give public works staff an understanding of more specific, like what is it that we put in our council goals, so that way they have a scope and scale that they can carry forward. Because right now, what they have is way too vague to be of use to add to the TSP process.
Okay.
All right. Since no one else will volunteer, congratulations, Garrett. Thanks, buddy. Number 7, we are wanting to do, staff wants to do an executive session at the end of the study session next week to discuss the Creekside Corridor. Based on the fact that we're going to be hearing all the CCIF presentations, let's play that by ear, Mr. Field, because I don't want to be here until 10 o'clock next week. And that concludes the council officers. Yes. Did you already talk about the medical school funding prior to that? Yeah, well, the medical school fund, we're doing CCIF like normal. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Any committee or commission reports? Mr. Stein?
I don't really think this is any committees, just what I've done, you know, just a little update, you know, just what's going on in Mr. Stein's life here. No, I'll get to the running thing, of course. So I went to Juneteenth. I also went to Pride last weekend. I think that was for me, it was the most amount of people and vehicles there. There's probably some places vehicles went that probably vehicles shouldn't go. But over the course of time, there'll be more. It was a little bit on that thing Rich showed us. There'll be more paving that has in a couple of years because people are out in the dirt area to the west side there, where it'll eventually be ball fields. Went to the Howard School Park opening with Garrett. I don't know if Mr. Field saw me there, but I was there.
You were in the picture.
Yeah, I was just like, I was having a moment. There was a summer solstice run a couple weeks ago that happened in Hawthorne Park. I finished second. Better luck next year. And then last night I went to the school board. So those that know, you know, we have the May elections, and then people that won the May elections take office in July. So we have 3 new school board members, and then Sonny got appointed last month. So they have 4 new school board members, which, man, kind of weird to having 4 brand new people, huh? Just like something that kind of happens. And I mentioned Mr. Williams is in the audience, a school board member, now a tenured member. As some of you might know, being on being elected official for 2 years can sometimes make you a more senior member of the group. So that's what Mr. Williams has as well. And that is that's my committee report.
The Kevin committee.
Yeah.
Any other committee or commission reports?
Am I supposed to talk about that? All right. No, you talk. We were at a meeting this week. We met.
Ms. Ayers, your microphone.
Your microphone, please.
No, I want to. We met with some folks from Business Oregon and other community members to talk about things like workforce, available industrial land, business recruitment, issues at the state level. It was good. It was informative, nice discussion. Anything to add?
I think I do.
Oh, he probably took notes.
Mayor, your microphone, please.
I'm still thinking.
You need to just remote up.
Yeah, we need remote microphone.
So, yeah, it was so essentially there were two of what they call their Business Oregon, their actual recruiters who kind of came down to talk, and some of the things that stood out was that they are hiring different consultants for different areas of the world globally for consultants to Oregon. They talked a lot about Japan. And trying how that works and what's the story of Oregon. There is regional solutions teams, right, for Business Oregon in all places. So one of the things that was talked about was if you are having a project that is struggling with permitting, for example, the regional solutions reps can be helpful for those types of things. They can essentially assemble meetings, get all the agencies in one spot one time, and try to get your stuff figured out. One other thing they talked about was I think the website is called Oregon Prospector. And then that is essentially a website they're trying to run where available lands for industrial purposes are essentially data-based, and people can go there, see what they're at. This tied into one of the things they talked about quite a bit was this regional significant designation. So if you have sites that have essentially not only is it on Oregon Prospector, but then you've also figured out what if you have power, if you have water, all the utilities that would be appropriate for that. So a lot of interesting things actually statewide of resources I think that could be helpful. Also kind of ties into what we might have expectations wise from So Ready. Some of the poor information that we heard, unemployment and poverty are increasing. I did not get exact values on that, but it was not the greatest news in the world. What is interesting is that there's, and you guys can take this how you want to, is it good or bad, but the 18-year-old to 25, they're not actually leaving as much as they used to. So there is still like somewhat of a retention of younger people, but a question is are we getting that workforce trained at that age? So some struggles there. Did a lot of talk about different ways that maybe you could reach those people, whether it's they brought up a program that Lane County has in regard to you can get like certified in and I wrote it down here as millwork and clean rooms, which was interesting. Come to find out, though, community colleges, they actually lose funding when they provide skills training like that or skills certificates. So maybe something to think about from an advocacy standpoint. One of the kind of interesting things is what's the pitch for Oregon, and kind of what we're landing on is if you want to be on the West Coast, this is the best place. Clearly, we do struggle with some tax policy. We do struggle with land use policy, and there's things about the West Coast that are challenging. But that is kind of a good thing if you are the best option. So, which really, hence the whole Asia connection, and that's a struggle that we're going to have if we're trying to deal with Europe. The East Coast is so much simpler to get to that. It's just a little bit different. Anyway, long-winded, but I thought it was a really interesting meeting and a lot of stuff for us to maybe consider as far as how we can help.
Any other committee and commission reports? I have two updates for council. I attended a MPO meeting. I mentioned this meeting briefly at our last meeting. So we are still having some MPO related issues. Eli, who's in the audience, is the ODOT representative for our MPO process. We did have a policy committee action that approved the existing policy and clarified the existing policy, which will mean allocations for, what was that project for, John?
For us,
Yeah. The Table Rock, that's right. So there's a Table Rock Road project that will get additional funds through MPO. Likely will get additional funds from MPO because of that. So that's a good thing there. The legislature is over, if you haven't followed that process. Forever, there will never be another legislative meeting in Oregon again. Oh, if only we could be so lucky. Two big things out of that. First big win is our condo bill passed in the legislature. The governor hasn't signed it yet, but we have no indication that she won't. And so that's a huge and exciting win that's going to change development in the face of Oregon, and hopefully we're going to be well positioned to take advantage of that as soon as it is signed and goes into law. Other thing is the transportation package went down in flames. The 11th hour change to the transportation package, which was just a small gas tax increase that did away with the 50-30-20 split, that also went down in flames. Problem for ODOT is, as we heard from Mary, funding for staff is at risk. ODOT has sent out 700 layoff letters already across the state. So it is a significant loss of personnel in ODOT, and as Oregonians, we are going to see a lot of road issues, is my prediction. The governor has stated that she's going to call a special session for transportation. She hasn't done anything about that yet, and we don't know when that's going to happen, and who knows if it's going to actually happen, but likely there will be something related to transportation. And I mean, Kevin, I appreciate your question to Mary, because I think those kind of soft dependencies that we have on ODOT, the kind of partnerships that we have developed over the years in our community, ODOT's funding shortage is going to put those at risk, and we are going to have to figure out ways to step up. So, Dan, welcome to the team. You're going to have to make up for ODOT. Go get them, buddy. That concludes council business. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. And I guess one more little touch on community reports, if you will. I'm also on the board of Access, and Access has considerable funding sources, both federally and statewide. And we just finished our budget, which was about a 20% decrease from last year. Certainly a victim of a lot of what came out of the state as far as what they're funding now and what they're not. And to be quite honest, through the pandemic, there was quite a bit of funds that went out. There was also housing funds involved with Alameda Fire that went out. So, yeah, I mean, but there was some pretty legitimate hits, and one of them in particular that was slammed was eviction prevention that was coming out of the state. So, just kind of passing that along, is we're gonna kind of see clearly there's a pullback, via the state as far as funding some of our nonprofits, and then certainly you always got to keep an eye on your federal grants and what their status is. So interesting times. Lucky for us. Mr. Field, do you have any staff reports to share?
Nothing further.
Oh, great. Anybody else have anything else for the good of the order? All right. We are adjourned at 7:27.
Executive session.